is Claude Schmid. I'm the founder of Veterans Last Patrol. I was retiring from the Army, and at that time I was the chief of the Wounded Warrior operation, bringing the casualties back from overseas. And I wanted to do something similar when I got out of the military to try to learn more about supporting veterans. And during that mission, I learned that one of the greatest things that's important is when someone is in adversity, and obviously wounding is an adversity of great magnitude, they need friendships. They need somebody to talk to, somebody to be there to support them, in addition to the medical care. As I retired and I started looking around for something to do, I became aware that in the nursing home and in the veterans communities out in the hospices, there are a lot of lonely veterans. And I said to myself, look, we need to take care of these veterans. We need to see how they're doing. And I wanted to set up a program to allow other veterans to visit these veterans in end-of-life care. And we began to call this the Last Patrol. Well, I'm a 31-year veteran Army officer. I was a tanker. I had a lot of great assignments around the world, opportunities to serve and lead many wonderful American men and women. And one of the things you learn in the military is really part of a big family. And when you leave the military, oftentimes you, of course, are going to miss that family. And the opportunity and chance to be part of veterans organizations is one way to sustain that brotherhood and keep those fires of companionship alive. And with Last Patrol, you know, we looked out a little bit to what was happening in the communities, and we realized that maybe there was no organization that really paid attention to that final chapter of life, and maybe we and our fellow veterans should do more about that Last Patrol. And that's kind of where the genesis of this came from. Appreciate your service. That's why we're here. How did you get into the Corps? Do you remember the story? Did you follow somebody in, or did you?
No, I almost got into Coast Guard. I took the final test and I got angry, walked next door to do a Coast Guard.
Coast Guard, just like that. Quite a difference between the two. Quite a difference between the two.
I went to at that time, it was a real rough place to go. They changed a lot since then, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Like a lot of volunteers, I feel oftentimes I get more out of these visits than the patients themselves get. Just because I get a chance to reconnect with this veteran, I'm able to remind them of stories and opportunities maybe they had during their service. And perhaps most importantly, I'm able to show to them that it is a brotherhood and that we're in this together until the very end.
I was in the Air Force in the 95th Fighter Squadron. Had good hardest day was I lost 14 guys in one day. It about killed me. It took me a long time to get over there. But at the same time, I'm glad that I served. At least I didn't hide behind Mama's coattail somewhere.
Claude certainly was a real inspiration to me. I didn't recognize that he was immediately the guy who was leading this band, and that he was the one that kind of thought of it first. So having been a good number of years experienced in parish work through my time as a priest in the Anglican Church, I just knew that how important it was to get out and see people when they're feeling ill, feeling lost, and so this is a time that we can recognize them. So I find that it's comforting to come by and shake a hand and tell them how much we thank them for, or talk to their families, or anything we can do at this time to really help their families as well. So I'm certainly prepared to do that, and it's a joy for me to do that.
Whenever we gather as Veterans Last Patrol, it's always about God and country, right? With our veterans, it's always about God and country. So what do we always do whenever we gather? What's the first thing that we do? Whether it's a baseball game or anything. The Pledge of Allegiance. So, those of you who can are welcome to stand as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can't, that's, you're welcome to just sit there. So we face the flag. Troop, 10 hut, present, arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Look, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Look, there is no, in my opinion, better feeling than helping another human being. And just to see the sheer joy and enthusiasm that is created in another veteran when another veteran speaks to them and takes the time to spend a little time with them and find out how they're doing, and let alone honor them with the honor ceremonies that we do. It's a bit overwhelming for them. It's a bit overwhelming for me, but it's a bit overwhelming for them. And at that point, they realize that the brotherhood or the sisterhood that they were once a part of, that they are still a part of, even until the end of their life. And to me, that's huge. There's not much more you can do to help somebody than to help them transition from this life to the next. All I want to do really is make this world a better place and make the veterans transition a lot better.
I was going to sing the song for him I wrote for the girl that had the USO in Norfolk, but I never got around to it. I'll be here for Christmas, eating Navy chocolate. Oh, no snow, 'cause don't you know it's way down south. Christmas Eve will find me here and feeling blue, but I'll be home for Christmas in 1962. Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Everybody thought that was pretty good.
Can you tell me a little bit about the growth of Veterans Last Patrol?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Well, we started about 4 years ago, and that was when I was just coming down from New Jersey. I'd done some volunteer work along these lines myself in New Jersey before deciding that we wanted to try to set up a national nonprofit. And it took off pretty quickly through the power of social media. We began to put things out on social media, and a lot of people would contact us from our Facebook page or our website and say, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know there was anything like that out there. So they approached us, and then what we did is we tried to help get them connected in their local areas, wherever they might be. I tell people that there are veterans in hospice care all over the country, so just because you may not live near a veterans base or you may not be near a VA, doesn't matter. 97% of hospice care is taking place out in the communities around the country. It has nothing to do with the VA, and you have an opportunity to help wherever you may be. So they approached us, and we've made connections for them and wherever they are. And so now we have volunteers in about 24 states. And my calling to you would be, if you're somewhere and you feel like this is something you want to volunteer for, don't be worried about where you are. Reach out to us, and we'll try to help you get started.
Well, I spent 21 years in the Air Force.
21?
21.
Wow.
I went in at 17 years old. Retired in 1971. And I've been Greenville, South Carolina, Shaw Air Force Base, and Sumter, South Carolina. Went overseas to Okinawa, stayed there 5 years, came back to Donaldson, and they closed it in 1961.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's just being there. And veterans or anyone in these difficult circumstances in life want to be known that they're appreciated, that somebody's there for them. And, we don't just talk about military stories. I mean, they'll tell you amazing things. I remember a gentleman who always enjoyed telling me about his first kiss on for the lady who was going to be his future wife. So he would go through this story with me on a number of occasions about, where they went and what they did and what was it that thrilled him about her. And then he would describe in quite some interesting detail how they kissed and where they were when they kissed. And she had passed a number of years prior. He was, in his 90s, and but yet that the joy of being in love as a young man and his excitement in sharing that story, and he thought it would be meaningful for me to hear it. So, they tell you about all kind of things.
Good seeing you guys.
These two are pretty amazing in their marriage story.
Oh, all
You should
right.
ask them how they met
Yeah.
each other and why they're still together after all these years. And who's the luckier one? Ask them who's the luckier one.
Well, how did you meet?
In church. Of course, we've both been saved a long time. So we found once we met.
Tell them how you captured her coming out of the Sunday school room, I think it was, wasn't it?
She's by far the best officer.
She's the best officer. Run a tight ship in the house all these years.
She has a lot more to deal with than I did.
I just loved you more.
So we're here today with Veterans Last Patrol, and we're gonna have a party. It's Christmas. So we're gonna have Christmas today, and we're gonna hand out our presents to you today. So we have cards. Walker's got cards. Walker, why don't you hand a couple other people cards so we can spread out the love there.
We have a program every year called Operation Holiday Salute, and the idea there is to try to get Americans around the country to have an opportunity during the Christmas and holiday season to demonstrate their appreciation for that veteran service. One more time, a veteran service in hospice care. So we organize this mission and we collect cards from around the country, from young and old.
We at the Willows, called the Willows Ladies, make cards for whatever project we figure we can make. We were lucky enough to be asked to make cards for them. So we made 100 cards yesterday, and here's your card.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you. Very nice.
These cards are little acts of gratitude. Thank you for your service. We appreciate how you sacrifice to support our freedom. And these cards get collected here in our office in South Carolina. Then we assemble them in batches of 6 to 7 cards inside a larger envelope. And then those envelopes are sent out to our volunteer network and our hospice partners around the country for distribution to veterans in hospice care. And those veterans could be in their private home, they could be in a facility, but they get little packets of cards delivered to them that are full of these cards that are written by young and old, school kids, businesses, workplaces, individuals, military organizations. So there's an assortment of cards in there, and it comes to those veterans and their families to see and appreciate on what's going to be their last Christmas.
Yeah, well, we have another bag.
All right.
Did we miss somebody?
Yeah, well, he was with Jamie and the other part of Joe Steve.
Here it comes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, all over. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, 48,000 cards they got. Yeah.
It's great to be here. This is
And a lot of times these veterans, of course, because they're in hospice care and late in life, they might be 70s, 80s, 90s. And many times, as you say, their time in service could have been 50 years ago or longer. But because of the uniqueness of military service, and especially if someone's been in combat or something like that, it stays with you forever. And they will remember those times, or re-remember those times, even if they haven't talked about them for a long, long time. As a fellow veteran, even somebody that's a stranger to this person, when you come into their environment, perhaps in their final weeks of life, and you are able to remarkably rapidly establish a kind of connection to them, because you have had some similar experiences perhaps. You wore a uniform, you may have served overseas, you know something about the Air Force, Army, Navy, whatever. So that bond gets charged rather rapidly. And a lot of times they'll open up to another veteran the way they would not perhaps to a non-veteran or even to a family member. And what I've found is, especially at end-of-life care, that if they haven't spoken about this for perhaps their whole life, they may want to talk about it then, because they know it's their last opportunity. It's a chance to share that story perhaps with somebody that they wouldn't have otherwise had an opportunity to meet. And they know that if they want to impart some wisdom or leave a lesson, that their time to do that is rapidly ending, and this is the time. So they may open up more than ever before.
And I spent 3 years active duty. And then I feel like got the reserves.
How was that experience?
It was okay. The end, towards the end, I was getting, my kids were starting to get older, and I wanted to ride in my children's life, you know. So I backed off some. It's part of life,
Right.
you know? I mean, it's not. I thought it was an obligation that you had to make. You know? Father and uncle both served. One was a West Point graduate. You know? So it's been in the family.
So how did you get involved with volunteering?
A few years ago, I retired and took advantage of being retired for a year or so. And I said, I need to get up in the rear end and get out and do something. And with our submarine veterans group, the Golden Quarter base, one of the fellows was already in Veterans Last Patrol. And we do what I call low-key volunteer with our veterans, submarine veterans group. So Mark said, give it a try, and I said, okay, and come on over. I show up for several of these a year. I'm not at every one of them, every one of the get-togethers.
Right.
But sometimes you think to yourself as a volunteer, you say, do I really want to go today? Do I not want to go? And then when you go, you're glad you went.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank you for your time and effort, what you did today. Thank you.
You're entirely welcome. Entirely.
I'd like to see it continue to grow. As I say, there's opportunities all over the country right now. We're active in 24 states. Loneliness is a terrible fight, and we can do a lot to prevent that by just being there for people. Could be a nursing home down the street from you. It's easy to walk in there and ask, is there anybody here that might be in special need of a connection, of a visit? And especially if you're a veteran, you've got this calling, like all of us do, that, hey, we were in this together, we served, whether it was in a plane, a ship, a tank, on foot in the jungles. We were there together. And we ought to be together with each other and supporting each other up until the very end. And for us, the very end is hospice care and end-of-life care.